moment Lil Wayne turned his rap concert into a rock concert in Detroit.
Music, ladies and gentlemen. The Super Bowl contender whose spot was taken by the short, sharp-shooting assassin. The double entendre dragon rapping before you were even born. His prime peaked when Obama took office, but after a pardon from the next president, people started saying he lost it. The Carter 6 was a flop, but Wayne wouldn't and couldn't quit. He hit the road, and things might be getting even worse with fans leaving his shows as Wayne forces their ears to bleed through. Rock and roll. A lot is happening, so I'll break it down for you, but first hit that like and subscribe button with a little hack too. Hello again, and before kicking off this video, I just want to let you know if you'd like to support me in hiring a video editor. If you've been around the channel long enough, you know I don't know how to edit at all. I finally figured out this QR code thing, and it's linked to the Rapaholics PayPal. If you want to donate $1 or $2, great, and if not, I love you for being here regardless. All donations will go towards hiring an editor so I can bring you better content. With that being said, enjoy the video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on with Lil Wayne? Do you realize the last time 1 million hip-hop CDs sold in a single week was Lil Wayne's Caution 3 back in 2008? That was also around the time he picked up a guitar. We'll get into that shortly. It was also when he used his star power to push new young money artists like Tyga, Drake, and Nicki Minaj. They went on to build his legacy, but now it seems like Wayne picking up the guitar again and trying to help his new young money artists is hurting his career more than helping it. He's touring his, how do I put this nicely, underwhelming comeback project, the Carter 6, all across North America. This is his first stadium tour in over a decade. But fan reaction to the tour seems just like the album. People leaving the seats they paid good money for and simply walking out. Especially the moment Wayne turned his rap concert into a rock concert in Detroit. Music. And honestly, the only word I can use to describe Lil Wayne's career in 2025 is tone deaf. When he's singing and rapping his songs on stage, he sounds tone deaf. The song choices and the artists he's signing to Young Money seem tone deaf. Why would you think your fans would care about a punk rock or heavy metal singer when they barely supported your own rock album? And speaking of albums, the most tone deaf move Wayne has made in his whole career wasn't going heavy metal on his first stadium tour in 10 years, or having a public meltdown about not getting the Super Bowl halftime show that was never promised to him, or even all the random freestyles. No, in my opinion, as someone who has been a Lil Wayne fan for over 10 years, always backing him as the GOAT of his generation while arguing with Kanye fans, Eminem fans, and 50 Cent fans, nah, Lil Wayne was my GOAT. But the most tone-deaf thing he has ever done was creating a 7-year gap between the Carter 5 and the Carter 6, and then completely ruining one of the most sacred hip-hop album series of all time with Elephant Sounds.
Yeah, okay, you're a boss,
So to understand how we reached the point where fans are literally walking out of Lil Wayne's concerts and his latest Carter series installment is remembered more for Elephant Sounds than actual music, we need to look at how Wayne even got here. Out of the big 3 of the 2000s, Kanye West, Eminem, and Lil Wayne, who do you think had the hardest and saddest fall off? I'd still say that title belongs to Kanye, but it scares me to admit that Lil Wayne is slowly creeping closer. Let me put this into perspective for you. Back in 2008, Lil Wayne became the last rapper to sell 1 million physical copies in a single week with the Carter 3. The very next year, the Clips dropped what many fans thought was their final project, Till the Casket Drops, and it only sold 31,000 copies first week. Now fast forward more than 15 years later, and the same Lil Wayne who once sold 1 million copies with the Carter 3 is selling less in his first week with the Carter 6 than the Clips did with their album in 2025.
I study for a living.
Think about that gap. In 2009, Lil Wayne was selling 1 million in a week while the clips were only moving 31,000. Now in 2025, the clips are outselling Lil Wayne, but it was back in 2009 when the clips dropped that project that Wayne's career began what seemed like a small, almost unnoticeable decline. Now, I'm not the type of fan who refuses to critique my favorite artist, but I've been following Lil Wayne's career since I was 7 years old. The first album I ever bought was the clean version of The Carter 2. The first concert I ever attended was in August 2011, right before The Carter 4 dropped. I was around 13 or 14 at the time, and it was Wayne's I Am Music tour. That was also the first time I smelled Mary Jane. And trust me, the entire arena was filled with it. You might recognize that name, I Am Music, because that's the same title Playboi Carti used for his album 15 years later. I bring that up to say this: Lil Wayne could easily be, if not Kanye West, the most influential rapper of this whole generation. Forget that he introduced two of hip-hop's biggest superstars, Drake and Nicki Minaj. Forget that Young Thug based his entire career off Wayne's style. We'll get into Young Thug later too, because his 2015 police interrogation after the shooting of Wayne's tour bus just leaked online. And in that interrogation, Thug revealed so much about why Wayne ended up falling off, putting all the missing puzzle pieces together for the police.
What up, dope? I'm in cutthroat, cutting.
This is not real. I'm being so serious, bro. This is not real. What the is this beat, dog? What is this beat, dog? I'm not gonna lie. We're trolling. You're dead trolling, bro. You're not serious at all. You don't give a. Do you hear this?
Elephant memory, but I can't remember her though.
I study for a living.
All these Young Thug offsprings you see in the game today, Lil Uzi, Playboi Carti, Lil Baby, Gunna, and others, they're all byproducts of Lil Wayne. Even Tyler, the creator, is a byproduct of Wayne. And to a degree, so is Future. The same goes for Kendrick Lamar. One of Kendrick's early mixtapes was called C4, inspired by Wayne's Carter series, where he rapped only on Carter 3 beats and basically did his best Lil Wayne impression. So when Kendrick says, "Used to bump the Carter 3, I held my rolly chain proud. The irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down. It hits deeper." The irony isn't just that Kendrick got the Super Bowl slot over Wayne thanks to a work ethic shaped by Prime Wayne himself, but that it shows the bigger picture of where Lil Wayne stands in 2025. As much as he shaped the next generation, Wayne has always been too caught up in his own world to fully embrace them. And that's the strange duality, because living in his own world is exactly what once made him the greatest rapper alive. Between 2006 and 2008, Wayne had so much music floating around the internet and the radio that his label, UMG, had to hire a whole department just to keep up with clearing all his records.
He used during the show. It had his autograph on it. That was like a really, really big Clips fan. I used to pretend I was perform all the Clips songs in my basement with the mic. And then I performed with it so much that I rubbed the autograph off. At the time, it meant the world to me. I'm gonna regret even telling this story. I'm gonna regret even telling this story.
I study.
Pusha T.
Do you think Drake ever had UMG stressing like that? Back then, the entire staff at the record label couldn't even keep up with one man's work ethic, and that man was Lil Wayne. That's the kind of drive he still carries even today, which is why we still see flashes of greatness in his feature verses. Wayne is still in the studio recording 50+ songs a night, 3 decades into his career. And that's why I'll always say Wayne is the GOAT no matter what, because even 30 years in it, he's still recording 50 songs a night. So even if 49 of those tracks are almost unlistenable, the fact that he's still creating at that pace proves his greatness.
If you had to put your finger on a why Lil Wayne don't like you, could you figure it out?
He's just been with Birdman his whole life, and he's just so spoiled to the point where it's like he's really spoiled. He's been a millionaire. He's been a superstar since he was 9 years old. So he don't know nothing but.
In 2020, Lil Wayne was arrested for possession of a firearm on his private jet. A couple of months later, before being pardoned by Donald Trump, Wayne sold his masters back to Universal Music Group for $100 million. But those masters didn't just include his own catalog, they also included parts of Drake, Nicki, and Tyga's catalogs under Young Money. At first, $100 million sounds like a lot, but when you own multiple $10 or $20 million homes, have 4 kids, a private jet, 4 baby mothers, and a lifestyle to maintain, that money is not generational wealth for someone spending at that level. To give up a catalog that includes albums like Pink Friday, The Carter 3 and 4, plus portions of Take Care and Nothing was the same. These are blockbuster projects that still generate millions every year just from streams. So to sell all of that for only $100 million when it could have secured millions for his kids for decades to come feels like there might be a bigger reason behind it. Maybe that's why he's still touring 3 decades into his career, still recording 50 songs a night, and still trying to push new Young Money artists onto fans. We'll get into those artists soon, including the new heavy metal act that actually made fans walk out of his show. But first, let's rewind a little. After the massive success of the Carter 3, you can't really climb higher than that. No, rapper has sold more in their first week without a drop afterward. 50 Cent hit huge numbers with Get Rich or Die Trying, but by The Massacre, his blockbuster run had peaked. Eminem did it 3 times, but after Encore, which sold 1 million first week, the quality dropped off. Drake hit 1 million with views in 2016, his commercial peak, and his music dipped after that too. But when Wayne sold 1 million in the first week, he took a totally different path. He said, forget the sales, forget what people love me for, I'm gonna make a rock album. And that decision still hurts his career today. The moment he picked up a guitar in 2008 changed everything. Applause. And look, I'm all for artists experimenting, but the warning signs were clear when he released Prom Queen as the lead single. It only got worse with songs like Da Da Da. The numbers back it up. Just a year earlier in 2008, he sold 1 million in the first week. But in 2009 with Rebirth, he only moved 173,000 first week. Not bad for most artists, but for someone known as the greatest rapper alive, that was a steep drop. And I study steep declines for a living. Now, don't get me wrong, there were bright spots on Rebirth like Paradise and Drop the World. Plus, the album definitely influenced a lot of SoundCloud era rappers like Lil Uzi and XXXTentacion to embrace that rockstar persona. So it wasn't all bad, maybe just a one-off experiment, but then came another hit to his career. Wayne was sentenced to 8 months at Rikers Island. Before leaving, he rapped, "I'll be gone till November, but I'm not tripping. I know Drake is gonna kill them."
Fell victim to Lil Wayne feature run. I'll tell you 2 behind the scenes things about Dwayne Carter. One is Wayne had so many features on the radio and in the ether at one time that they said, we literally can't work your record because it's an oversaturation of Lil Wayne. This is an official directive from a record label. There was literally one person's job. They were getting a salary at Universal, at UMG, to just keep up with Lil Wayne features. That's a fact.
Wait, what did they have to do?
They just had to keep up with his features, like doing.
It feels like ever since he got out of prison, Lil Wayne handed the baton to Drake and let him do what Wayne had been doing before getting locked up. His biggest post-prison album, The Carter 4, felt like it carried far less effort compared to earlier Carters and mixtapes like Sorry for the Wait. Dedication 4 and 5 didn't come close to the legendary Dedication 2, Da Drought 3, or No Ceilings. By that point, it was clear Wayne's focus had shifted to letting Drake and Nicki carry the Young Money legacy. He even rapped, "We're going to be alright if we put Drake on every hook." And that's noble and respectable, right? Jay-Z did something similar when he moved into an executive role in the second half of his career, helping launch stars like Kanye West, Rihanna, and J. Cole. But even when Jay took that back seat, he never released a project that felt like it lacked effort. You could argue Wayne experimented more, so there was more room for mistakes, but if you look at the last decade of his career, you see albums like I'm Not a Human Being 2, Free Weezy album, The Carter 5, Funeral, and now The Carter 6, along with a handful of mixtapes. Out of all those, which one honestly stands beside his earlier catalog, or even compares to projects released by other rappers his age? Kanye gave us Kids See Ghosts and Donda. Jay gave us 444. Nas gave us The Kings. Disease series. It's tough to stay on top for so long, but it should be easy to put at least a minimum level of quality control into full albums. A bad single here and there is one thing, an experimental album is another, but 5 straight albums from one of the most influential rappers ever, and not a single one left a lasting impact. That's telling. And I think it all ties back to the fact that Wayne is absolutely in his own world, which I can't stress enough. Being 3 decades into your career is fine, but if you expect to go on a successful stadium tour, keep the Carter series alive with new installments, and get real value out of the 50 songs you record every night, then you need to hold yourself to a higher standard. Before the Carter 6 dropped, it felt like Wayne might finally do that. After 7 years since the Carter 5, Rolling Stone interviewed Wayne in his studio, previewing tracks meant for the album. That interview gave us 2 possible signs. Either Wayne was a genius thriving in his bubble, or he was so disconnected from reality that he was headed for a rough second act to his career. At the start of the interview, Wayne plays new music and says, "If you got a favorite rapper, tell them suck my dad." He also says, "I never understood vacation." What are you taking a break from? If it's a vacation, you're supposed to do things you enjoy, right? So I take my music with me. When asked why peers like 50 Cent and Jay-Z are seen as high-level executives moving into business while he isn't, Wayne blamed it on the fact that he's still too active and too great as a rapper. He said, "Imagine you're a player coach still averaging 30 a night, and someone asks if you feel slighted, they don't call you a coach. No, I'm still dropping 30 points a night. I'm fine being the best rapper." Then people remember, oh yeah, he owns Young Money he put Drake on, and suddenly his influence is obvious. We'll touch on what Young Thug said later, but you also have to ask, would a true high-level executive really sell his catalog back to the label before its full value matured? Wayne's daily life at that time also sounded wild. According to that interview, his average day ended after leaving the studio, eating breakfast while watching First Take, then sleeping until around 6 p.m. when he woke up for dinner. The interviewer even told him his schedule was the reverse of a normal person's, and Wayne just said, "I never thought of it like that." Thank you. That's Wayne, up all night recording, asleep during the day. Now, this interview came out 6 months before the Carter 6, and the music preview then sounded nothing like what was released. Back then, Wayne said the album's focus was collaboration, asking himself what he would sound like alongside certain artists. Miley Cyrus appeared. He recorded a track with an uncleared Billie Eilish sample. And the most surprising guest was Italian opera legend Andrea Bocelli, who sang Ave Maria for the album. Wyclef Jean even flew to Italy to tell Bocelli Wayne's story of surviving a self-inflicted gunshot at 12. And Bocelli was so moved, he agreed to sing the opera standard himself. It's one of those records that feels like it could stop time. Wyclef Jean said it was the only song out of dozens they talked about in the interview that ended up making the Carter 6. But did it really stop time? They also mentioned Wayne would be using the guitar a lot more on this album. He's been playing for nearly 2 decades, doesn't know music theory, but plays by feel and often drops a solo into his features. This is where fans started leaving. In the middle of his concert, he previewed more Carter 6 songs, including Rolling Stone, and told the crowd the Super Bowl could have had some real music with guitar, but instead they got rap saying they messed up. He was pointing at the fact Kendrick Lamar's halftime show was all hip-hop, while Wayne claimed if he had that stage, people would have heard the kind of music on the Carter 6. This was the first sign of Wayne living in his own bubble, unable to see that it was Kendrick's hard work that earned him that stage. You could even argue Wayne works harder but not smarter, because if the Carter 6 was what he thought deserved the Super Bowl slot, what does that say about his mindset in 2025? Like I said earlier, it's just tone deaf. Then it got stranger, as fans began wondering if the NFL had told Wayne something that made him believe he was next in line for the halftime show. Remember, he was acting like the spot was promised to him and then taken away. Wayne said the league encouraged him to be more public-facing in preparation, which made him think the selection was a sure thing. He described how performing means there are always things they want you to do and not do, people to please and not please, and said he even went to events he'd never be at normally, like Michael Rubin's all-white party or hanging with Tom Brady, all just to get that halftime slot. He insisted that's not really him, that he's not Drake smiling everywhere, he's in the studio smoking and recording. Wayne also claimed that after Kendrick was announced, someone from the NFL called to apologize, saying they don't run the halftime show. When asked if it was Jay-Z, he clarified that he and Jay are close and that advice from Jay is just a text away. But that itself showed how out of touch Wayne was, because right after Kendrick's announcement, Nicki Minaj went on Twitter ripping Jay-Z, saying his issues with Birdman and Drake made him snub Wayne. So which is it? Is Young Money beefing with Jay-Z, or is Jay just a text away? Wayne said he told Kendrick to kill the halftime show, but when Kendrick dropped GNX, Wayne tweeted, "I just be chillin' and they still come for my head. Let's not take kindness for weakness. Let this giant sleep." Then a month later, he claimed he never even heard the Kendrick album. He also said he never paid attention to the Drake and Kendrick beef, and gave an example of going on stage and singing a song people thought was a Drake diss, which was Not Like Us. He laughed, saying he didn't even realize it was Kendrick's song, and he didn't want Drake to be mad at him. But something doesn't add up, because in that clip he was singing They Don't Like Us while about to perform his collab with Drake, the motto, and flashing an OVO chain, yet later claimed he didn't even know it was a diss track. Why would he perform it then, especially when it wasn't even his song? The interview then took an even wilder turn that made it seem like Wayne was either acting totally clueless or really had no idea what was happening around him. His son showed him Mr. Beast and Wayne didn't know who he was. Then the interviewer brought up Jay-Z and Kanye's Watch the Throne, and Wayne said, "What's that?" They explained it was Kanye and Jay's joint album, and Wayne replied, "They did an album." The whole room spent 5 minutes playing songs from Watch the Throne to jog his memory, and Wayne looked confused, even asking Lil Twist if he'd ever freestyled over Otis, though he did recall No Church in the Wild and People in Paris. For anyone who followed Wayne's career at the time, this makes no sense, because the first single off Watch the Throne, Ham, had Jay-Z dissing both Wayne and Birdman. Kanye even played it for Wayne before it came out, and Jay Mills from Young Money told the story of Wayne being furious after hearing Jay take shots at him, going straight into the next studio and recording It's Good as a direct response. Jay-Z's diss was about Birdman saying Wayne was richer and better than him, with Jay rapping, "I'm like, really? Half a billy? Really? You got baby money? Keep it real with guys. These guys ain't got my ladies' money."